Hey there, my name's Dean Van Warmer, and I'm super excited to share with you today my presentation on Harley J. Earl, the Da Vinci of Detroit. I first learned of Harley Earl back in the early 2000s when I was working at a Buick dealership, and they were referring to this beautiful 2003 Buick Park Avenue here as being influenced by Harley Earl himself. And they had some goofy commercials out where he was a ghost in Tiger Woods' garage. It was really a fun time. But now that I've researched Earl and I've looked into some of his designs, I really can see where the designers of this car drew inspiration from Earl's works and many cars today. Earl was born in 1893 in Hollywood. His father had a coach building business in Cadillac, Michigan, that he moved out to Hollywood. I was really drawn into that as I drive through Cadillac, Michigan every day on my commute into work. Now, when Earl's father was ready to retire and he sold his Coachworks build company to a Cadillac dealer that was located across the road from them, Earl had decided that he didn't want to stick around. He had bigger and better ideas. He wanted to reach more people in the masses. So he found himself at General Motors in 1927 working for the art and color section, also known as their design studio at the time. In 1927, Earl also developed the Buick LaSalle. This was a prototype vehicle that was well ahead of its time. I mean, this vehicle had heated seats that was 30 years ahead of its time. This vehicle had a rain sensing, auto closing, retractable soft top. If you look at the grill there in the center, it looks kind of goofy just in the picture, but that is a retractable headlight that flips around. One of Earl's biggest vehicles that influenced the automotive world was the 1938 Buick Y-Job. It was actually one of the first concept cars that was ever created and debuted anywhere. One thing that you could probably take away from looking at this car, if you were to look at cars from this same era, is he removed the running boards, and that was a huge thing at that time, as all vehicles were being manufactured with running boards. Now, Buick did partner and do some work with General Motors, and this M18 Wildcat that is pictured here actually is a really unique tank that Harley Earl was part of on the production and design. In 1948, after the war, Harley Earl introduced something that blew the minds of the automotive world. It's very subtle here. You might not be noticing it in the picture yet, but it is the tail fins on the back of this Cadillac. So if we jump forward 10 years, you can see that the 59 Eldorado sports a much larger tail fin. We've got dual bullet designed tail lamps that are incorporated into that fin. And this was just a huge movement in the era and really defined the late 50s, early 60s of automobiles. So Earl also designed the 1953 Firebird, which was only a prototype car, but one really cool car in 1953 that is still in production today, which is Earl's design, is the Chevrolet Corvette. So Earl had seen the need after the war for a two-seat small ragtop car that people could run around in, because we had soldiers that were bringing in Jaguars and MGs from Europe, and nobody was manufacturing anything like that here. So another thing that put Earl ahead of his time was in 1955, he hired 10 women to be part of his design team. So that was something that had not been done in industry before. They were labeled the Damsels of Design. They didn't like that name. Modern people now aren't going to like that name. That was a PR thing that did that. Unfortunately, when Earl retired in 1958, all but one of those women ended up leaving General Motors as well. I took a lot of things away from Earl. I was really impressed with some of the things that I learned. He was the first one to bring in the tail fins. He made the Corvette, the first concept car. It was kind of all stuff I knew. But what I didn't know was that he had brought in a lot of things for innovation. The clay modeling, the design and color studio was all him. Planned obsolescence. So he was the guy that essentially started designing the cars for the next year. That way you'd want to trade yours in and get a new one, or get one that was newer than your neighbor's, or whatever it may be. It was really, instead of having the same car for 10 years, we had yearly model changes now because of him, and that really boomed the auto industry, which makes him the father of the modern automobile. So one of my biggest takeaways from Harley Earl was to push your limits. When you look at his career and the things that he did, he didn't settle for the standards. He didn't do things the way everyone else was doing them. He took his ideas and he ran with them, and he put whoever around him he needed to in order to bring those ideas to light. So thank you for your time and watching this video today.